Thank you. So the time is going to go fast. I had the pleasure of talking to the panelists for an hour beforehand, and I know some of them well. And so we're not going to go in the order on the screen, but we're going to go in order to answer some questions that I think are really relevant. We're going to focus in on the word acquiring foundational skills. First, we're going to ask Michael to talk about what skills are important to acquire. We're looking at the workforce. And he's going to talk about the research that they've done at America Succeeds. Then we're going to go to Laura. And we're going to say, how do you design programs for adolescents in this age grade, in this age span, that really optimize the experiences that they need to acquire these skills? Then we'll go to Jackie to say, what was that experience like? Being in a program that really intentionally optimized those experiences. What did you learn? How many skills did you gain and grow? And then we'll end up with Margaret talking about what we need to know if we're building skills from a basis of adversity. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with Michael.
Great. Thanks so much. My name is Michael Crawford, VP of Strategic Initiatives at America Succeeds. America Succeeds is a national nonprofit, been around for about 10 years, focused at the intersection of education and employment. We work across K-12, post-secondary, and the workforce. And for the last several years have been focused on what we call durable skills. You've probably heard them referred to by other names like soft skills and 21st century skills and essential skills. We call them durable skills because these are the skills that preserve their value across industries, across role, across time, especially as the workforce, the technical skills and the technical requirements of the workforce begin to change so drastically. And so this isn't just our opinion. We worked to analyze over 80 million job descriptions to really try to understand, well, what is it that employers are seeking? What is it that they're looking for right now and into the future of work? And then we worked with over 800 employers to create a framework that identifies, defines, and articulates what these skills are as they show up in the workforce. We established a framework called PathSmith that we now partner with different organizations and associations to help bring to life for young people, for young adults, for job seekers. So we work with Arizona State, for example, to embed durable skills into their courses. Work with TNTP to integrate our framework into their implementation services to support schools and districts nationwide. And we work with really inspiring and incredible companies like Nemo, who builds voice-based AI simulations that help companies with hiring and promotion and retention efforts. We just heard a conversation about AI and the future of work. These kinds of durable skills are the ones that will allow young people and employees, job seekers, to be able to navigate the tumultuous, unpredictable future that AI will bring to town. Whether you're working directly with AI, skills like communication and collaboration, leadership, teamwork, these are going to matter as you listen and empathize and engage with some of those tools. And even beyond that, if you think about globalization and just the shifting nature of careers and work, durable skills are ultimately the ones that will allow you to kind of navigate through that. We also are doing some research that explores what these skills look like in schools, in high schools in particular. How are schools going about supporting the development of these kinds of skills? We have a report coming out in the next couple of weeks that will speak to that, and I guess I'll leave it there.
Great. We've got a minute left, so I'm going to ask you a question, Michael, before we move on. You're talking about schools, but having been on your advisory board for a while, and you're a part of the Alliance for Youth Thriving, we want to talk about all the places where learning happens. And I know in your last round of iterations on your tools, you broadened the language to make it like setting neutral. Can you talk a little bit about why that was important?
Yeah, so these skills, the development of durable skills certainly don't just happen in school. They are not time-bound. They are heavily context dependent. I really appreciate Lisa's comments this morning about context not just as the background, but as fundamental to developing skills and dispositions. Because these skills are heavily context dependent, they require experience and being in spaces and having opportunities to develop them, which don't happen linearly. You don't just go to second grade and you develop certain skills and then go to third and go to fourth. Oftentimes these skills develop in a much more jagged sort of profile. And as a result, that means that, yes, they can be developed in school, but they also are developed out of school. They're developed in workplaces. I appreciate Jaime's comment about, he didn't say it exactly in this way, but you don't learn how to drive by reading a textbook about driving. It really requires you to be in the car with real stakes and real stakeholders and authenticity in what you're doing. You have to be able to feel it. And so the importance of these skills being sort of beyond just what happens in a school day, these are not just skills that get developed in conjunction with academic skills. These are skills that are developed and refined and should be explored in all contexts of our lives.
Great, thank you. So Laura, you've heard about these durable skills and how they're developed. I know that you're working in Oregon, in Central Oregon, on really helping young people from 14 to 24, and that's sort of that age range, 14 to 25, really find their way into the workforce through meaningful work. And I love the phrase that you have on your website that says, live, learn, earn, and lead. Can you talk about the design principles that you use to put into the programming that you use at Heart of Oregon?
Yeah, absolutely. We at Heart of Oregon Corps, we're a youth conservation corps and a job skills training program. We blend models from the core network and youth build environments to create these work, earn, learn, and lead models where young people engage in meaningful, hands-on work that benefits the community. So young people are engaged in projects that help prevent wildfire risk, build affordable housing, address food insecurity, deal with recycling in their community, protect habitats, right? So they get to do these real, meaningful, hands-on things in real teams and hands-on work out in the world. To your point, Michael, of you have to do the thing, right, in order to apply these skills. Uniquely, all of our core members, our participants, are on our payroll. Really fun when the W-2s come out. So we pay wages, living allowances, stipends to every single core member within their learning program in a kind of classic pre-apprenticeship sort of model. And so they're earning wages or money and assets and scholarships through AmeriCorps Education Awards. And then they also are learning in these deep ways. So we do have some traditional opportunities, be that a GED or diploma or a state recognized pre-apprenticeship certificate that you have to take a test. But the deep learning is really happening in ways of those durable skills that you're talking about, of the problem solving, the communication, the risk taking. And young people really get to do that in teams and groups, and that's a critical part of our model too. We have a core model that if new opportunities come along, we take a look at does this opportunity do these key things, right? Can this be done in a team-based, hands-on, real-world community example? And then we also structure things where there's opportunities to grow for that learning along the way. So a lot of our programs, young people like Jackie come in teams or groups. So they're cohorts and they very quickly go from the brand new, the new people to being the veterans, right? And then they're helping the new group of cohorts and all those cohorts are overlapping. So they very quickly get to have these skills, become experts in their own thing and help teach their peers. Then we have team leader positions where youth, are on an intern almost level position in between staff and youth. We have almost 10% of our year-round staff team are alumni of our programs, and then we have alumni on our board. So there's just this real clear opportunity to grow and lead within programs. And we all try to do this in an environment that's specifically designed for youth that are on a more workforce path versus traditional school path. We're actually building we've been around for 25 years and we're finally building a permanent home like this workforce center campus in Redmond so all our different programs can interact and have all the places of belonging that they need to thrive.
Talk a minute about the range of programs. One of the things I was impressed by was your menu. One, it changes, but it's a menu that's really developed with the community, et cetera. So give us an example of the range of programs that you have at the Heart of Oregon.
Yeah, we have more natural resources-based conservation corps programs. We have one for teens just in the summer with the Forest Service. It's one of the largest teen conservation corps that's at a local corps. So we'll have 80 to 100 youth in 7 different towns in a 3-county area, all working for the Forest Service over the summer. But then we also have a year-round young adult conservation corps for 17 to 24-year-olds, where they're building trails and protecting habitats and reducing wildfire risk right in and among communities, not just way out in the forest. We have a recycling, contamination recycling program with the Deschutes County. We do a new Food Heroes program, which Food Heroes is the name the young people picked out to help address food insecurity in one of our most rural counties that Jackie is a team leader in now. And we also have our Youth Build program and have since 2009, where we construct affordable housing. The young people have constructed over 40 affordable homes in our community. And we added a child and youth development track for young people that might want to go into the helping, caring professions as well.
Great.
So we try to adapt over time, and we work with local employers too, to say where is the training needed. But our skills are really at that pre-apprenticeship durable skills level. So a young person might be in the construction program and want to go into healthcare, right? And it's still a foundational skill base that will help a young person progress in any direction they want to go.
Great. So Jackie, you've been through a couple of these programs at Heart of
Yes.
Oregon. Talk about where you were in high school, how you got to Heart of Oregon, and what it's meant.
Well, before joining Heart of Oregon, I was only 16. I was actually dropped out of high school. I was just really shy and reserved. Before I had dropped out of high school, I was actually getting in trouble a lot in high school. I was skipping class, just didn't have my priorities straight. And after hearing my friend who had joined and all the support he received, I joined, and I think that I definitely have come out my shell. I think seeing all the youth there focused on their future and their high school diploma really made me feel behind. I wanted to feel kind of part of the group, and so I enrolled into Heart of Oregon Youth Build. I started working on my high school diploma. I actually graduated September, so I'm a year early on graduating. I obtained my OSHA 10. I obtained all these admirations and aspirations for my future. I've just grown a lot. Yeah.
And Laura talked about the sort of the principles, the elements. How important was it to you that you were in a team, that you were actually getting paid, and that you were doing work that really was relevant for the community?
It meant a lot, actually. I didn't really have a lot of support when I was younger, and that's kind of the reason why I dropped out. I was really struggling at home. I come from a single mother of 5, so it was really hard for her growing up. And I remember dropping out because seeing my mom struggle really affected me. I couldn't focus in school. I felt the need to get a job, drop out of high school, and help my mother out. So I think that the stipend and the living allowance that Heart of Oregon provided really supported me. I really grew these aspirations to eventually go to college for business, and I get a scholarship award aside from that living allowance. So I think that really supported me and motivated me into growing these aspirations that I probably should have already been growing as someone my age. But I think that getting into Youth Build and seeing this team that had all these same goals just really made me want to be a part of it. I think my team really supported me with encouragement a lot. I think that supported me a lot.
And you're a team leader now, right?
Yes, I am.
So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the new Food Heroes program opened up October. I graduated September, so they had introduced the idea to me of being the team leader since I already had previous experience and kind of being a team. I think that being in Youth Build as a program member and not a team leader really showed me how to be a team leader now. I think my mentors, I had really, really good mentors, really good staff who worked together. They kind of put that positive role model for our program, and they showed us. I'm a big observer, so I kind of observed how they were really, really good team members and how they worked together. Just observing, I think, in Youth Build really helped me become a team leader now.
That's wonderful. And one last question for you. So when you think about a team, and you've both been in teams and now you're a team leader, what do you see in the differences in the skill levels that you have in your team members, and how do you really take advantage of those, help people move along? What does it mean to see a team that has different levels in it?
I think seeing a team that has different levels of different strengths and stuff, I think it makes me want to kind of motivate them, encourage them, just like I was when I was a program member. I think I've kind of expressed to my group that we all should use our strengths and put them together, work together to solve problems. I try to motivate them a lot. I think I have a really shy and reserved group as well, just like I was, and I kind of motivate them, just hype them up a little bit, and yeah.
And how old are you now?
I'm 17.
Okay, so this is all this growth has happened in a year and a half?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And Karen, I think for what you said, that the learning is lumpy, right?
Yeah,
Like it's not.
exactly.
One of the things that I think when you support young people in an empowering based environment, right, where they're the leaders and they're the drivers, they're not just receiving services, they're delivering services, they're empowered, right? It kind of has this habit of unlocking these latent skills that young people have been learning. I mean, you learn skills throughout your whole academic, process, and somehow Heart of Oregon was the environment where it clicked. Like a lot of things fell into place like very quickly for you.
That's right.
And I think that's a key point, is that young people need new environments that isn't their home environment and isn't their typical school environment, where they can build these different type of opportunities and see themselves in a new way.
That's right, absolutely. So we talk about young people in the Science of Learning and Development, in the Soul Alliance. The motto is, all young people have potential if unlocked in the right context, right? And we know relationships and experiences are critical of those contexts. So Margaret, you study adversity and how the brain responds to adversity and all those things. So talk to us about what you've heard in this list and how this reconciles with what you know about how the brain responds to adversity and what kind of environments can actually undo or alter that response.
Yeah. So I will say I studied the impact of adversity on brain development, how it leads to risk often for psychopathology. So I spent a lot of time in the risk space. And in that space, I'll just say, before I answer your question, there is very clear evidence that if you want to have a successful set of cognitive skills entering into this young adult period, you need to invest in cognitive development early on and in the families in which that cognitive development happens. And if you want successful emotional skills, you should limit exposure to violence and also address violence. And that's something that was even talked about early on today already. So I do want to say that. I also, after having done that risk work for a long time, we've now started to move into the resilience space and have been able to discover some really exciting new paths for the research to take. And one of those is this observation that we have for a long time examined the impact of threat exposure or violence exposure on emotional sensitivity and reactivity in youth. And most recently, we've kind of matched those observations with the long-standing observations in adolescent developmental science, that there is kind of a for better and for worse experience in adolescence. As you enter into this novel period of brain plasticity, these emotional sensitivities might actually interact with a positive environment like the one that you're describing to really launch people in an even better direction than would have happened if they weren't coming in with those emotional sensitivities. And there's also sort of the risk side of that as well. But I think that there's a way that early experiences of risk can actually, when they are met with the right environment, really kind of catalyze really powerful change and really sort of incredible situations. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is that we've really looked at, because I'm focused on structural inequality, we've looked at experiences that are more common in communities where there's a lot of structural inequality, especially connections with community, kind of reliance within networks for mutual aid. And we've begun to try to think about how those experiences might themselves actually engender specific skills with regards to mentalizing, with conceptualizing how other people's minds are working, what other people are thinking, that are these kind of soft skills that are really important in the job industry. So those are sort of the two resilience pathways that we've been thinking about a lot recently and doing some work on and have some initial findings around. And then I'll just say, it's not the center of my work, but I have done I've been a collaborator in a couple of programs where we've been able to, one was in Liberia and one was in Indonesia, but situations where we've been able to observe that following experiences of profound and obvious adversity, young adults were able to get into these kind of community engineered and community centered programs and really have positive outcomes. We've even observed 10 years out sort of these positive job and economic outcomes. So I think also seeing that a little bit on the ground.
That's really interesting. And for me, it reminds me of the work that Mary Helen and Bernardino Yang does around reflection and transcendent thinking. It's like, you need to be able to have time to reflect on your adversity and not just reflect it in a concrete way, but then extrapolate out to say, well, if this happened and it's happening here and it's happening here, what can I do about it? And so I think just thinking about how, and her neuroscience shows that it's different parts of the brain happen if you're doing this transcendent thinking. We don't spend enough time helping young people reflect. This morning used the term coaching and guidance, and just this idea that every action needs to be reflected on in order to optimize it is great. So we've got about 7 minutes left before we turn it over to the group to think in their small tables. In the work that I do, I really try to find classic examples of where people have really put the science together well, that speak well to audiences. And one of my favorites is work that was done in 2002 by Michelle Gambone and Jim Connell called Finding Out What Matters for Youth. And they did all this fancy non-threshold analysis and stuff, and they came up with 3 things that they put in the middle of their graphic for young adults. And young people need to be productive, healthy, and connected. And I think in this conversation, when we talked about mental health and just mental health coming in, the best way to sort of get to this silo-breaking conversation is to keep those 3 words in mind. You have to be productive, means doing well in high school, means doing well at work, et cetera. Healthy means mentally and physically healthy. And connected means connected to your family, to your community, connected in some ways. And what they found was that when young people have that kind of experience, when they're getting the basic things that they need to be productive, healthy, and connected along their developmental way, you can reduce the number of young people who are not doing well from 2 in 10 to 1 in 10. You can reduce the number of people who are doing well from 4 in 10 to 7 in 10. You can almost double the number of young people doing well just by paying attention to these things that we have to do. And so I just want to go down the road to say, as you're thinking about skills, as you're thinking about how we really acquire these skills and how in late adolescence and young adulthood, we need to acquire them in real life settings that matter. What would you say to the audience before they go into their small groups about that?
I think one of the thoughts I have is that there's sort of 2 different ways to think about risk and how to get young adults doing better and get young adults thriving. One is kind of addressing, sort of thinking about it as a basic need, like we talked about, which I think is incredibly powerful, and sort of addressing underlying risk. But the other is to sort of think about, and that meaning making in some ways I think is about that, sort of like thinking about that as meaning making. But I also think it's important to imagine the possibility that all of us in our diversity of experience kind of bring to the table some skills, and some of those skills might be more available in this particular instantiation of culture because of kinds of experiences that we've had early on. And so I think both of those are important. I think they're both kind of sources of strength and resilience to be imagining.
I am thinking about the moment that we're in. I think there was commentary earlier about how career-connected learning is kind of gaining ground. We've had some conversations last night and earlier today about the increased importance that people are giving to career-connected learning, to work-based learning, to thinking about young people as professionals in the future. We joke often that there's not a lot of young people who graduate high school and then retire. So everyone will have some form of professional experience, career moving forward. And I think there's an opportunity here also to leverage that as a Trojan horse of sorts, because many of the kinds of benefits that come from allowing young people or engaging young people in these kind of more professional pursuits lead to the kinds of things, Karen, that you're describing. They get opportunities to be productive. They get opportunities to discover things about themselves and their own identities and their own interests and aspirations. They get to be out in the community, in the broader world, interacting, interfacing, and building new relationships with folks that don't often collide with them on a daily basis. And so I think there's an opportunity to leverage the sort of professional career work-based work to actually open up young people in new and important ways.
Yeah, I would all that. And I think really engaging young people as like just fiercely capable and valuable, right? Like they bring so much regardless of their level of adversity, the amount of skills they bring and they're ready. That purpose really resonated with me, Karen, of like they want to be engaged in community. And I think that when we really try to engage both like high expectations and high supports, like combine that. We don't shy away from using the word love in our programming, which is very youth build for people who know youth build in the room. Thank you, Dorothy Stoneman. And I think that it's just this, like young people are completely capable of doing these things with the right opportunities and the right supports, and they want to. And it's our job to like facilitate that and open it up. But like the ability to help in ways like that, Jackie, like you experienced yourself with your family, and now you're on the helping side of that equation, right? Does that resonate with you?
Yes, it does.
Jackie, you get the last word.
Yes, I for sure think that words of encouragement help a lot. I think just reminding youth that they can do it no matter what they've been through, their past. I dropped out. That doesn't mean I didn't graduate high school. But yeah, I think just words of encouragement mean a lot as a youth, especially if you're a youth with no support at all and you just have that one person telling you that you can do it and that they know you can do it with just hard work and dedication. I think that means a lot to youth.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for a great 30-minute conversation, and our time is up in 15 seconds. So thank you for talking to us, and we're done.
All right.